Hey y'all, my name is Adrienne Helmlinger and I'm 37 years old. I am going to share a little bit about my story today. I think I finally mustered up enough courage. I know that it is something that God has been placing on my heart to share, and so I'm going to do just that. Um, it was around July of 2025 when I got a much needed wake up call. That was when I was rushed to the hospital with symptoms of a stroke. And while I was in the hospital, they were getting ready to do some CT scans. And it was when I was in there for the testing that I went into anaphylactic shock due to something that was administered into my IV. By the time they pulled me out of the machine and realized what was going on and called for medical help, it seemed like it was forever, and I was gasping for air. One of the worst things that I've ever gone through in my entire life. But it was very eye-opening, and when I was able to get out of the hospital and go home after that, I just began crying out to God. You know, surviving and being able to breathe again made me realize that there was a reason why God kept me here, because it could have very well been my last breath. And so I began crying out to God and just begging Him to save me and give me a second chance to change my life. And I knew that it had to be Him to pull me out of that deep, dark place that I had been in. It was in the next few months that God began speaking to me about moving states. And after a whole lot of questions that were unanswered, because that's kind of how God works, because if He gave us the whole picture, then we probably wouldn't go when He said go, right? But I realized that something had to change, and I just grabbed onto that word and grabbed onto God, and I finally packed up my kiddos in my car in November, and we hit the road. And so we had stayed somewhere overnight, and then my car began breaking down, so that caused us to stay in the car a few nights. Eventually we made it to our destination safely by the grace of God, but we ended up staying in a homeless shelter for a few weeks, what we could, being out of state. And from there, we moved to a motel room where we have been living since January, where God has provided and protected us every single day, no matter what. And while I would like to say that everything has been sunshine and rainbows since I made the move, that would be a lie. It hasn't. But every single thing that we have gone through has been necessary. I have grown in places that I thought were impossible. I have been sober for 9 months. I have been learning to trust God completely and to understand what that looks like, because I can tell you one thing: God is the one that will never leave. When everybody else in the world gives up on you, when you even give up on yourself, God's the one that will never leave. He will never leave you. And if there's one place that you're safe, it's in His arms. So if you were to look at the situation, it doesn't really look like, from the outside looking in, that there's been a whole lot of growth. But man, being given a second chance at life, being given a second chance to rebuild healthy relationships with my children after, you know, putting them through things and hurting them and being selfish, and learning to just to look at myself and to try to make the changes that are necessary to learn and to grow and to become the woman that God is calling me to be. And I just want to tell you today that if you have lost hope, if you feel like you are too far gone, you're not. You're never too far gone for God. And if you feel like you are just ready to give up, I urge you to just cry out to God. Even if the only thing that you can say is Jesus, God knows your heart. When there's no other words that you can even speak. And so I'm just super grateful. I know that I have so far to go and to grow, but I'm so thankful to have a second chance and to have hope again. Hope for the future. That hope is God. It's not me. It's not because I've not been able to get through this because I'm strong. It's all because of God. And the fact that He is so loving and so gracious and so good, and He gave me a second chance. And I hope to be able to bring hope to other people that are where I was. And it's never going to be easy, but with God, it's going to be worth it. I hope that this blessed somebody, and I appreciate you for listening.